Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. This is my last podcast before the year is over. When thinking about the year that passed and thinking about the year to come, the best thing we could do is commit to a perspective that can help us deal with the twists and turns. And I haven't spoken about this idea in a long time, but today I'm going to speak about the best perspective I know, and that's the maybe mindset. And this leads me to a story of a situation that I'm currently experiencing. And the reason why I feel it's so important to share it today is because I have no resolution. I usually share stories of maybe where people have been able to resolve a situation that they're going through. But today I'm going to share a situation that I am in the middle of right now. In early December, I went to the internist, and as she was giving me an exam, she felt that there was a lump on my breast. She said it was probably a cyst and there was nothing to worry about. I watched my mind immediately fall out of maybe, and I started to feel panicked. I left the doctor's office and I immediately called the radiologist to get a mammogram. They were very accommodating and took me the next morning. When I saw the doctor, she examined me and said, I think it's a cyst, but let's check it out. And then when I'm having my mammogram, they called me back for some extra pictures, which again, most of you know sometimes that happens, but you never know if it means anything. When I went into the office to meet with her, she told me that I had some irregular tissue and I needed to get a biopsy. She said it was probably nothing. And just like the night before, I fell totally out of maybe. And what happens when you fall out of maybe and you start to resist what's happening, it's like having an internal temper tantrum. I felt I was resisting the moment and my head started to spin because I didn't want this to be. I didn't want to have to go to a biopsy and I didn't want to have breast cancer and I didn't want this to be my life experience. But the only thing my thoughts were doing, they were giving me a stomach ache, they were giving me a headache, and it was hard to focus and concentrate because I needed to make an appointment for the biopsy. I went to the front office. I made the appointment. I would have to wait a week for the biopsy. And I got in the cab and I felt all my resistance and I felt pain and I actually just fell over in the cab and I laid down the entire trip home. When I got upstairs, I realized that I could not resist what was happening. I could not be in this much pain for an entire week. And some people can. There are some people that just stay positive until they know the results. And for me, I know that I'm sensitive. When I start resisting, I start to feel sick. And I know that there's another way. I know that there's a maybe. So I pick up my pen and I start writing my biggest fears down, like I always do. What is my biggest fear? My biggest fear is that I have breast cancer. My biggest fear is I'm going to die. My biggest fear is who's going to take care of my children. And I start to cry. But I know life has maybe, so I start to write the statements down. Maybe everything is okay. Maybe things will get better. Maybe there's something in the moment for me to experience. And then I get more specific. Maybe I don't have breast cancer. Maybe I have a cyst. Maybe I have something that just needs to be removed. Maybe I do have breast cancer, but I'll be okay. Maybe there'll be a treatment. Maybe I don't want to waste this week worrying that I have cancer, that I'm going to miss out on what's ever happening in my life. I'm going to miss out on the moment, and I'm going to miss out on creating the future. And for 20 minutes, I wrote maybe statement after maybe statement after maybe statement. But what was so interesting is I went into total maybe, but I still was in pain. There was a thought that gave me pain, the thought that I was going to have breast cancer because I didn't want to have it. But what maybe did is it diluted this one pain because it made me realize there were so many other possibilities. That was so interesting about being in maybe. It was sustaining me, yet there still was something very real in my life. And it did cause me pain, but so much less. I went to work. I taped my podcast. I went out with friends. Was I a little more quiet during the week? Yes. Did I pray and I meditate a little more? Yes. Did I read a little bit more? Yes. But maybe allowed me to be strong and resilient. And then the biopsy results came back and I had a papilloma. I needed to have it removed, but it was benign. I went out that weekend. I was so happy. I was happy to be alive. I was grateful. And I went to the surgeon on Wednesday. And when I went to the surgeon, I didn't think much of it. I didn't even fill out the forms totally. I felt very lighthearted. I was going to have a little minor surgery and be on my way. And when I went to see the surgeon, she turned around and said to me, I have some unfortunate news for you. They biopsied the wrong spot. They did find a papilloma, which is good, but it's not the spot that the radiologist was concerned about. You need another biopsy. So all of a sudden, within a matter of 3 hours, I went from being totally relieved and happy to being back into this intense uncertainty of whether or not I had breast cancer. And I left the hospital that day thinking about how when I went there, I thought I was going to have an easy surgery. And I left there being bandaged and in pain and once again worried about what my results will be. As then I sat in the cab on the ride home, I started to do the maybe statements in my head because I realized that even though I wasn't happy, I didn't like it. I didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe there was nothing wrong with me. Maybe I had cancer and I would get better. Maybe there was something in the moment for me to experience. And with the holidays upon me, there was Christmas vacation. There was New Year's coming up. I have a party to go to tomorrow night. What was I going to do? Was I going to hide under my cover and say I was sick when I wasn't? And until someone tells me otherwise, I am well and I am healthy. So after 2 days of waiting, tonight I got a call from the doctor to discuss my biopsy. And the first thing she said is, I have good news. The biopsy did not show cancer, but you have atypical cells. And atypical cells could mean something else. It could reside in a place where there are cancerous cells and there is cancerous tissue. So you need to get it taken out. She said there's an 85% chance that it's nothing and a 15% chance that it's cancer. And all of a sudden my head started to spin because I wanted this to be over. I didn't want to be sick. I didn't want to have uncertainty. I didn't want to not know. I just wanted to go on with my life. But that's not what was happening. And I felt myself resisting the surgeon, resisting what she was saying, asking so many questions because I didn't want this to be. But this is what it was. She also told me she was booking surgeries for the second week in January, and it would take a week to get the full biopsy back. And I'm sitting here tonight, and I figure I have 1 month of not knowing. The surgery will be in a couple weeks, and then I have to wait a week for the results. And the first thing I did when I got off the phone is I wrote down maybe statements. I realize every time the past couple of weeks that I resist what is, I am in so much pain. Wanting things to be different than they are, there's nothing more painful. It actually is like running into a wall. And I can't live like that for the next 30 days. And I could sit here and be positive and say, I know everything's going to be okay. I know it's not going to be cancer. The statistics look good, but I don't know. So I turn to the perspective that it always stands by my side, and that is maybe. Maybe I could accept this and still be okay. Maybe I could have the best 30 days of my life, devoting the next 30 days to presence, to happiness, to gratitude, to do all the things I haven't taken care of, to make plans and do things I always love. What am I waiting for? And maybe helps me, maybe lets me see that no matter what happens, the next 30 days are filled with possibilities. And no matter how long I live, the rest of my life is filled with hope and possibility. Yes, the unknown will have challenges, but within that, again, there's always hope and possibility, and maybe reminds me of that I'm never stuck, that life keeps moving, that things always change. And if we resist that change, we live in pain. And if we resist that change, we shut down. We don't allow ourselves to live our best life. We give up today for tomorrow. And that's what I wish everyone for the new year. I hope that you can maintain this maybe mindset and realize that no matter what happens to you this year, no matter what happened in the past, that life truly has maybe. We never know how things are going to work out. We have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And that's a beautiful thing. No matter how lonely you are today, no matter how much money you lost, if you lost your job, if someone left you, if you're suffering from heartache, life has maybe. We can't know what's going to happen next, and if we allow ourselves not to know, we will open our minds and our hearts to all that's possible. And we also will not ruin today, because we'll realize that maybe we're not totally happy with our current circumstances, but there's always something every day and every moment to take note of, to smile at, to love. There's a beautiful world happening right in front of us. I hope you remember to do the maybe exercise as often as possible. Or you could just pick a maybe mantra that works for you. On most days, my favorite mantra is maybe everything's okay, or maybe there's something left for me to experience in this moment. I wish you all a happy new year. I hope your new year is filled with hope and possibility and love and all wonderful things. I hope you remember that the unknown is your best friend, because there lies your future with great hope and great possibility. And always remember, maybe the best is yet to come. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available at all major bookstores and online retailers.